Alright, so now we're on part 2 of my reaction to the year 1933, and we're going to look at April through June. So alright, April 1st, the recent elected Nazis under Julius Streicher organized a one-day boycott of all Jewish-owned businesses in Germany. So yeah, like I said in the last video, there's going to be a lot of Nazi-type crap happening in 1933. It was a very big year for that kind of stuff, so yeah, it's one of those things that just happened in history, steamrolled human decency to a large degree. Anyway, April 2nd, as a member of the... Oh, that's about a cricket team. I'm not really that much of a sports person, so I'll be skipping over a lot of the sports trivia on this Wikipedia page. Anyway, on April 3rd, there was an anti-monarchist rebellion that occurred in Siam, which we now call Thailand. The first flight over Mount Everest is made by the British Houston Mount Everest Flight Expedition, led by the Marquis of Clydesdale, and funded by Lucy, Lady Houston. Don't know who those people are. It's possible I've heard of them before at some point, and it's just a couple names I don't remember, but anyway, moving on to April 4th, American airship Akron crashes off the coast of New Jersey, killing 73 of its 76 crewmen. It is the worst aviation accident in history up to this date and until 1950. So April 5th, the International Court of Justice in The Hague decides that Greenland belongs to Denmark and condemns Norwegian landings on eastern Greenland. Norway submits to the decision. Also on April 5th, President of the United States, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, also known as FDR, declares a national emergency and issues Executive Order 6102, making it illegal for U.S. citizens to own substantial amounts of monetary gold or bullion. Yikes. April 7th, sale of some beer is legalized in the United States under the Cullen-Harrison Act of March 22nd, 8 months before the full repeal of Prohibition in December. So obviously they got the ball rolling a little bit early on that. You know, it was a precursor to full end of Prohibition, but you know, it was something. Also, on April 7th, the law for the restoration of the professional civil service is passed in Germany. The first law of the new regime directed against Jews, as well as political opponents. So, yeah, you got to be on the lookout for that sort of thing when it happens. You know, keep your eyes open for when governments start passing laws against specific groups. And, yeah, moving on to April 11th, aviator Bill Lancaster takes off from Lympne in England in an attempt to make a speed record to the Cape of Good Hope, but vanishes. His body is not found in the Sahara Desert until 1962. Don't know if I ever heard of that before. April 13th, the Children and Young Persons Act is passed in the United Kingdom. Let's take a quick look at what that entailed. It says here it consolidated all existing child protection legislation for England and Wales into one act. Okay. It's one of those laws that wraps a bunch of stuff together. April 19th, the United States officially goes off the gold standard. April 21st, Nazi Germany outlaws the kosher ritual Shashida. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but anyway, it was them obviously passing some legislation against Jews again, which is kind of what they're known for. April 24th, persecution of Jehovah's Witnesses in Nazi Germany begins with seizure of the Bible Students' Office in Magdeburg. So again, the government regulating religion, passing laws against it. Definitely not secular. Um, if anybody tells you that Hitler was a secularist, they're wrong, because secularism entails not passing laws for or against a religion. All right. So, also on April 24th, Jewish physicians in Nazi Germany are excluded from official insurance schemes, forcing many to give up their practices. Again, that's what Nazis are known for. Just passing on not just anti-Jewish stuff as we just saw, but a bunch of other stuff against people that they just don't happen to like, or that they're paranoid of, or simply that they hate. April 26th, the Gestapo secret police are established in Nazi Germany by Hermann Göring. Again, not really that great at pronouncing these German words, but it's something like that anyway. Also, editors of the Harvard Lampoon steal the sacred cod of Massachusetts from the State House, and is returned 2 days later. A little bit of a lighter piece of news. I mean, why not throw that in there? April 27th, the Stahlhelm organization joins the Nazi Party. Also, the Jessup & Son department store in Nottingham, England, is acquired by John Lewis Partnership. Okay? Not really that knowledgeable about that, but hey. Alright, so, on May 2nd, we're moving into May now, Gleichschaltung. Adolf Hitler prohibits trade unions. So definitely mention that to all these people who are like, oh, Adolf Hitler was a socialist, and all that kind of talk. Really, socialists probably would not be interested in prohibiting trade unions. If anything, they're very reliant on the idea of a trade union. There are specific elements of socialism that perhaps emphasize trade unionism too much, like syndicalism. That's one of the critiques that people make of syndicalism, or like anarcho-syndicalism or what have you. They say it's too dependent on trade union activity. So, yeah, they're full of shit if they're saying, oh, Hitler is a socialist. Alright? He wasn't. You might say he wasn't a capitalist either, or whatever, and there might be some truth to that. But he was kind of something different. Let's just agree on that. Okay, the first alleged modern sighting of the Loch Ness Monster also occurred on May 2nd, 1933. Alright, so May 3rd, in the Irish Free State, Dáil Éireann abolishes the oath of allegiance to the British Crown. Also, Nellie Taylor Ross becomes the first woman to be named director of the United States Mint. May 5th, the detection by Carl Jansky of radio waves from the center of the Milky Way galaxy is reported to the New York Times. The discovery leads to the birth of radio astronomy. Yet again, I'm, something I don't really know that much about, but I've heard of it. May 8, Mohandas Gandhi begins a 3-week hunger strike because of the mistreatment of the lower castes. May 10, in Germany, the Nazis stage massive public book burnings. Yeah. They were all about that kind of stuff. Also, Paraguay declares war on Bolivia. May 12th, the Agricultural Adjustment Act is enacted in the United States. May 17th, Vidkun Quisling and Johan Bernhard Hjort formed the National Samling, or the National Socialist Party of Norway. Basically, Nazis in Norway. May 18th, New Deal. President FDR signs an act creating the Tennessee Valley Authority. May 26th, the Nazi Party in Germany introduces a law to legalize eugenic sterilization. And gee, why does that sound familiar? Not too long ago, I read about some forced sterilization efforts happening in these ICE detention facilities. So you see, history has a way of repeating itself, right? And if we don't learn from it, as the saying goes, we repeat the same mistakes again and again. Or they might not be quite the same, but close enough, similar enough. May 27, regarding the New Deal in the United States, the Federal Securities Act is signed into law, requiring the registration of securities with the Federal Trade Commission. Also, the Century of Progress World's Fair opens in Chicago. Walt Disney's classic Silly Symphony cartoon, The Three Little Pigs, is first released by United Artists. So that's kind of an important event in the history of animation and pop culture, I suppose. So we're going to finish up by looking at June in this video. So the Holodomor famine genocide in Ukraine reaches its peak with 30,000 deaths from man-made starvation each day. The average life expectancy for a Ukrainian male born this year is 7.3 years. So, yeah, that was obviously a Soviet Union atrocity story. Definitely, I mean, we can look at 1933 and see all this Nazi stuff and say, oh, well, that's just, crimes on the right. There's nothing to worry about from self-professed leftists. Well, here we have these horrible things happening in the Ukraine as well. Or Ukraine, I suppose I should say. Some people get mad when you say the Ukraine. But it's something I've heard so often that I make the mistake myself sometimes. But anyway, the point is, all systems of government can lead to abuse, especially if they're trying to impose these cultural/political values on populations. They can have some devastating results. And this might not have been simply due to prejudice, but it was attempting to, impose state-sanctioned socialism on everybody, right? So when you take something like socialism, which is actually supposed to be a sort of utopian, even a form of self-government, really. But when you take something like that and basically beat it into people with a hammer, you're going to have some unpleasant results. So anyway, June 5th, the U.S. Congress abrogates the United States' use of the gold standard by enacting a joint resolution nullifying the right of creditors to demand payment in gold. So that really anti-gold stuff going on too. They had a hard-on to get rid of gold. And I'm not really that knowledgeable about theories about why that was happening. I've definitely heard some conspiracy theory kind of stuff. But, I'm sure it was happening for a lot of different reasons. But, I'm not... It just seems like they went too far out of their way to, send that message. And that's why I think a lot of people are like, wait, why the hell were they so obsessed with getting rid of this? Making it official and all that. Especially when, we've got, in America, the idea of a free economy. You wouldn't think they would want to be that much about regulating gold out of the picture. That's not really what a free economy does, exactly. But they did it. 1933. Anyway, moving on to June 6th, the first drive-in movie theater opens in Pennsauken Township near Camden, New Jersey. Obviously, in 1933, that was an innovation. And I think in 2020, a lot of people were going back to the drive-in movie theater concept because you could watch movies safely or with relatively safe conditions outside in your vehicle. So I've definitely heard of some drive-in movie theaters springing up, especially because of the whole COVID-19 stuff. So a lot of these little historical moments are quite relevant even today. Anyway, June 12th, the London Economic Conference is held. June 17th, the Union Station Massacre in Kansas City, Missouri. Pretty Boy Floyd kills an FBI agent, 3 local police, and the person they intended to rescue, captured bank robber Frank Nash. June 21st, all non-Nazi parties are forbidden in Germany. So again, you have another glimpse of what was going on in Germany at the time that the Nazis, really rose into prominence. They were trying to force change, of course. That's one way to put it mildly, but really that's actually exactly what it was. It wasn't just that they had bad ideas, right? Although they did, obviously, but they were trying to force all kinds of bad ideas on people and make it so these were the only ideas that people were allowed to have. So that's actually what takes a bad idea and makes it even worse, right? Because you can have all kinds of shitty ideas, and I think most people do have at least a handful of shitty ideas. But if you're not able to impose them on people, they're not necessarily as bad as they could be. So anyway, June 25, Wilmersdorfer Tennishallen delegates convene in Berlin to protest against the persecution of Jehovah's Witnesses in Nazi Germany. So again, that gets back to what we were talking about earlier. It wasn't just Jews, it was political, any group that they did not like. And that really needs to be emphasized enough, or more than it often is. Because really, the point is, if they didn't have an enemy to go against, they would have invented one out of thin air. That's how these ideologies work. They're all about being persecuted, and these persecution complexes that these people have, and they actually take those and project them onto the population. You know what I mean? They believe they're being persecuted in some. Often it's just something that's completely made up, right? But then they're like, well, we have this justification for going against this group or that group. And then, what do you know? The ball gets rolling and they're able to steamroll through the population and try to impose their worldview on everybody. So anyway, June 26th, the American Totalisator Company unveils its first electronic pari-mutuel betting machine at the Arlington Park racetrack near Chicago. Well, that's about it for this segment. I know I kind of rambled on a few parts, but it seemed like there was some important information for me to discuss. And I'll be coming out with another video for July through September, at some point here in the future. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day.